What's up guys, MainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always. And I'm doing a super improvised video here on frame data, because a viewer doesn't get it. And this is gonna suck ass. I'm shooting from the hip, I have no notes of any kind, I usually record with notes. So I'm just gonna, yeah, shoot from the hip. So frame data is super convoluted to me. I think it must be the biggest barrier of entry outside of execution to Tekken. It's nothing you have to look at, because they try, and they really try with Tekken 8 more than any other game, to show you visually that, okay, I think I have an advantage here, right? Because I do a big kick and Brian goes, on hit he goes, on counter hit he goes, whoa! And even on block, you see, there seems to be, he staggers a bit. So the game tries to tell you that, okay, I guess it's my turn still. Or, you know, here, he blocks my health sweep. Ah! Kazuya breaks his leg, you see? So the game really tries to tell you what's happening and when you can take your turn and when someone's punishable. But a lot of the times it really doesn't. One of the worst offenders in my opinion is when Paul does a death fist and Paul pushes you back and you hold up your guard. Paul is actually launch punishable. But it's so counterintuitive because nothing about that tells you that he's launch punishable. All you think is, oh my god, big fist, he pushed me back. Oh god, this move is broken. So that's where, you know, if you want to be really serious about this game, you have to look into frame data. And now I'm super confused. Why am I on the other side? Restart settings, switch position was on. Okay. So first thing you need to know, and again, it took me months to get frame data 20 years ago when I looked into it. This game runs at 60 frames per second. So those are what frames are. If you watch a Hollywood blockbuster, it's at 24 frames per second. I'm so smart that I know that a movie is actually moving images. What you're looking at is just one picture after another rendered by the game engine, Unreal Engine. You see how smart I am? This comes with age. One day you will also be smart. But so this game runs at 60 pictures by second. And this is actually how we, with math, count how quick attacks are in Tekken. And if it's an advantage or a disadvantage. So, and now, finally, we don't have to pay money to see these maths. We did that in Tekken 7. We actually paid $6. Now, that's why I'm saying Tekken fans are very loyal, because they pay for frame data. So we fucking earned Tekken 8, I would have to say. But so now we actually have it in-game. And here you see in the bottom there, you know what? Just to make this as non-convoluted as possible, you already have so much stuff to look at, so I'm just gonna remove this. We'll just focus on that. At the top there, it says attack startup frames. I press a jab and it says 10. So again, all jabs in Tekken, except for very few outliners or whatever it's called, like Jack, they're always 10 frames, right? So this means that it comes out at 1/6 of a second, right? Because a full second is 60 seconds. No, 60... 60 frames. This is why I didn't want to record this shit. No one can do this without notes. It's so fucking convoluted. So in 1 second, you have 60 seconds. Remember that for your test in kindergarten. Please do. But so... 60 frames, right? So this means the jab, 10 frames, 1/6 of a second. This is very fast in Tekken terms. Usually when we talk about fastest possible universal interrupt in this game, we're talking about a jab or a crouch jab. Both of these come out at 10 frames. And this is why the crouch jab is so popular among, I mean, elitist high-level players like to say, oh, I never crouch jab, that's for scrubs. They all do. They all use this. Because this is the quickest way you'll just go, get off me. Because even on hit, you'll see to the bottom there that we get that +6. and it's light blue, and it's saying, oh, you're at an advantage. Good to know when you're labbing and taking a look at frames. +8, it goes light blue, that means I'm at an advantage. If it goes red, you're fucked, right? This means, oh, I'm at a disadvantage. And usually this is tied to how strong an attack is. If an attack is super powerful, right? You can count on it having really bad block frames. Really bad. So now that you know that the jab is the fastest possible get off me, right? That's why crouch jabs are so popular. You'll know that if you do an attack and you're minus, how fast was a jab again? 10 frames. That means that if an attack is -10, now you're into universally punishable territory, right? If I do this move at -9, this means this is safe. Because the fastest possible universal attack can't hit me. -9, well, a jab, crouching or standing is 10 frames. So here I'm safe, right? But as soon as a move crosses the boundary at -10, this means it is universally jab punishable. This means universally jab punishable. Another thing you need to that is super important with frames is that your jab is the best attack in the game. And it's not only because of a super fast startup, it's the fact that if someone blocks your jab, you're at +1 on block. So 10 frame startup and positive on block. So this means if I do a jab and it hits you, I'm at +8, so I can jab again. Still my turn if I choose to jab. But even if you block this move, it's still my turn if I choose to jab again, right? Note that we can obviously duck this or do all kinds of shenanigans, but in terms of frame data, a jab, it's still my turn. So jabs are the most common way in Tekken of building offense. And if someone's spamming a lot, the jab is basically the universal, stop, respect me. I'm jabbing, hello, and they start blocking, and then you apply a mix-up. Or a classic with King is just jab, 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 respect me, fro. It's just a classic. And now I pick two characters who are very tough to play, expert characters. They don't have universal down for the one. Pretty much every single character you will see in this game has a typical down for the one. Well, not everyone. Let's play Lars. Lars is very cool, and he's Swedish, which helps me. I can relate so much to him, especially the hair. But so this is a universal down for the one. So again, these are the most important attacks: jab and down for the one. And down for the ones also pretty much universally. These change more than the jab. These change more than the jab. But typically, it's a 13 frame mid-check. But it's usually quite advantageous on hit and typically -1 on block. Typically. But again, this is where characters' signature identities and fighting styles start coming out more. Pressure characters will link down for the ones into strings, for example. And then they usually pay the price of it being more negative if you stay at just one down for one. Then they typically range from -2 to like -5, -6 even sometimes. But so very important to know that 13 frame mid check in down for one universally. These are really important. And the distinction here, of course, is that if you do a down for one like this and you're at -1, if your opponent blocks and then down for one's back, he's going to interrupt your down for one into down for one. So this, you might, if you're new to Tekken, you might see this and go like, oh my god, the fuck do I do about this? Well, anytime you block that, your opponent is -1. You can jab, you can down for one. You can, if you have a really fast magic force, so this is a fast right kick that knocks down on counter it, you can interrupt them, right? And the next frame I want to talk about is 15. If I do this with Lars, I'm minus 18. But what you need to remember is that the most important here is that if someone is minus 15 or more, now you are universally considered launch punishable in Tekken. Pretty much every single character in the game, except for very few exceptions, will combo start you at 15 frames. If they know what they're doing. They will block your attack, and if you are minus 15, you are going to get launched. So suddenly, you're not getting jab punished. Suddenly, you could eat potentially 100 damage. So that's why you want to, as soon as attacks cross into minus 15, you want to be real careful. So this is one of Lars's moves. It's a super long range mid-launcher with a 14 frame startup. This is a super good attack. Super fast mid-launcher that covers a lot of space. What is the drawback? Well, if this is blocked against a strong opponent, I die. I'm going to die. So that's really important. And that covers basic frame data outside of the fact that every attack has active frames as well. And this means that attacks have startup frames, which is 10 for a jab. But then when the hitbox, and this is what hurts you, at 10 frames they have an active hitbox where the move can hit you. Usually this is 1 frame, but sometimes it can be up to like 10 frames on certain attacks. Where it feels like, oh, I ducked that move, and then you stand back up and then your head explodes. Those are fun. That's a lot of active frames. A classic here is everyone's favorite character, Boarang.
Get ready for the next battle.
Speaking of fun frame data, Hwoarang's backlash. So Hwoarang does this backlash. Do you see those startup frames? It says 27 to 30. This means that it has 4 active frames. This means that not only for 1 frame, but for 4 frames here, there's an active hitbox. It doesn't sound like much, 4 frames. But this makes a big difference when you're trying to punish this attack. Because you duck it, and then you press your punish, and you die, basically. So, active frames is also something you need to pay attention to on attacks. And this also means that an attack that's +4 on block here, you see, backlash is +4, so if you block this, Hwoarang is at an advantage, actually. Very, very powerful attack. But now you're like, why was that +5? It's because it hit on a later active frame. It didn't hit on active frame 27, it hit on 28, and now I get +1 frame advantage on block. So it went up from 4 to 5. So this means that if this lands on the last possible active frame, Hwoarang will get +8, I think. Yeah, he will get a full +8 on block on this backlash. So these active frames can really mess you up in this game. Another incredible little demonstration of this and what it can do for you is Lee's new slide. And I can't, the ski glasses, I just can't deal with them, so I'm going to do this.
Get ready for the next battle.
This is a game changer for Lee, what they did to his slide. This is a real crash course in frame data here, but at some point you're going to want to understand this stuff. But this is a little bit more high level. But let's say he is doing a crouching block here, Brian, and I'm trying to slide him. What did we talk about before? God damn it, I'm -15. I just tried to do my low -15. Brian is going to launch me for this, right? Because we just hit that magical golden frame of -15. Had I been just -14, he wouldn't have been able to launch me. I would eat a 30 damage punish, but as soon as I'm -15, I risk 100 damage, right? But if I do it from here, I'm still minus 15. No, but do you see this? Do you see the active frames? Do you see how much we have to play around with? Did you just see that it said minus 10? Did you see that? Minus 11. Do you know what's going to happen now to this Brian player? I swear to God, he's going to try and punish me because the game has taught him that, oh, that shit is launch punishable. So he's gonna try to launch me with his 15 frame launch punish. I block it. Oh, they buffed his while stunning 1. Okay, so it used to be minus 16. But so I just do this. Right? He's gonna be tricked into thinking, oh, minus 15, I get a punish. Instead, he gets punished. And again, this is due to active frames. I do a slide. 18 to 24. An enormous amount of active frames. So a Lee player that is smart is going to try and place this from this range. Minus 9. I am now fully safe. I am now fully safe if I space a tip range. The furthest possible away I can be, where you can still block it, I am now safe. And if you try to punish me, I'll block it and then I punish you instead. So this is again how important it is to pay attention to active frames. And another thing we can discuss is froze. And with froze, I'm gonna go with Dragunov.
Get ready for the next battle.
Let's see. Standing. Typically, froze have a 12 frame startup. You'll see here, 12 frames. So froze are very fast. They're only 2 frames slower than a jab. This goes for command froze as well. 12 frame startup. But then we have some outliers again. Dragunov has a very strong throw game, and it's not only due to the throws giving good Oki as a 1 break, 2 break, 1+2 break, but he can actually get throws 1 frame faster if he does his 1 or 2 break. 11 frames. So again, 1 frame difference, you might feel like, well, that doesn't do much of a difference, but it serves more as to hide more the startup animation of a throw. Because your opponent has to know, is it a right arm or a left arm leading? Because that tells you what button you want to break with. And again, you know, when you're trading with jabs and down for the ones, that 1 frame is gonna make a lot of difference. But so froze 12 frame startup. 12 frame startup. Some characters like King, 10 frame startup. So this is why, for many reasons, Giant Swing is the best throw in the game. But having a 10 frame startup, again, we're discussing frame data. When I'm jab checking you like this, again, +1, if I do 2 jabs on block, uninterruptible, right? If I do jab into Giant Swing on block, this is uninterruptible. Again, this is super important frame data to understand. And if you want to break any of these command throws, you have a 20 frame window. So this means 1/3 of a second. And it starts when the throw is active, when it connects. So this means that there's a 12 frame startup on the throw, this animation. And then as soon as it grabs, you have 20 frames. So this means 32 frames, right? In total. But of course, as you might have heard in my King 8 minutes, if you press into a throw, you suddenly don't have 20 frames to break it. If a throw counter it, you have 8 frames to break it. You can't do that on reaction. It's impossible. So you actually have to know that King is going to do a giant swing and you mash the 1 button preemptively, right? So that's important. Another important thing about frames. We're gonna go back to Kazuya. Let's do a double Kazuya.
Get ready for the next battle.
Another important thing about frames in Tekken is that highs tend to have the strongest frames because they can be ducked. So highs tend to be allowed to have pretty ridiculous frames even on block because they can be ducked. There's a lot you can do to beat highs. Mids, you have a strong collection of safe and powerful mids in Tekken. But lows are almost exclusively unsafe. Pretty much always unsafe. That's the basis of Tekken. Anytime you do a low, you take a huge risk in this game. Because not only are they typically always -12 on block. That's a golden rule. Anytime you block a low attack, you can bet your ass it's going to be -12 or more. Right? The big sweeps, where they stagger, that's always launch, right? If a character staggers. Snake Edge, Hell Sweep, big low, commitment lows, launch punishable. Smaller lows that typically build momentum, +4, tend to be -12. But of course, lows are risky in that you can low parry them. They can be low parried. Any jumping attack beats lows. So this is how Tekken is balanced. Like, lows always mean commitment from the person using them. You try to break someone's guard, right? If they're stand guarding a lot, you'll do lows, but they're very, very risky. And I believe that is frame data. Oh, any attack you use has recovery frames, right? So certain attacks can be pretty decent on block, like this move. Kazuya's left splits kick is actually pretty fucking good on block. Like, it's a normal hit launcher, and if you block it, I'm -3. I'm basically neutral. Super good. But if this attack whiffs, it has 1,000,000 recovery frames. Much more than it seems. For about a second there, you can hit Kazuya, whiff punish him. Which is why he's so vulnerable to sidesteps or whiffing any of his attacks. These are the recovery frames of an attack. Examples of moves that are super fast on recovery is jab. Jabs you're pretty safe to whiff. No one's going to punish you, like see you do a jab and then punish you. It's almost impossible to do, unless your opponent has super fast reflexes. Electric also has almost no recovery frames. It almost recovers as fast as a jab. So if you whiff on electric like this, you're free to go immediately. Whereas again, 4-4-3 on block, -3, it's incredible on block. But if it whiffs, you are dead. But electric, on block, you're fine. On whiff, you're fine. So recovery frames is a big deal here as well. And Hwoarang's backlash, again, on block, very powerful. But also if it whiffs, it recovers pretty much as fast as a jab. Making it almost impossible to whiff punish. So recovery frames is a thing as well. But yeah, okay, that's gonna be my frame explanation. I hope it was alright, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.